development or software industry out there. So if we look at this chart which is there, that shows from 2022 now, looking at 2025 and 26, this industry and looking forward like to 2032, this industry is going to be grown by $1.789 billion, which is going to be a big industry, right? So you will have more opportunities in that field. You will have more career growth in that field. In terms of salary, in terms of career, you will have a good growth in upcoming years in that industry, right? Now, what we will do is now we have two bonuses for you in that master class. We have two bonuses for you. One bonus is you will receive at the end of this master class will be a certification. Okay. So, but for this webinar, you will receive a certification, and that will be a certification that you have attended the webinar for the full stack development. Now, what is the second bonus? Second bonus will be that we will be we will let you know by the very end of this webinar. So the people who will stay by with very end of this webinar, they will know what is that second bonus we will be providing you. Okay, so there are two bonuses we will be providing you, so please do stay with the end of the webinar so that you can know what is that another bonus that we will be providing you. Okay, now we will welcome our mentor, Mr. Anirban Das. Okay, he is a technical lead at HCL Tech only. He has graduated from a college in Kolkata and started his career in PHP developer and more. He will let you know about himself. Hi Anirban, how are you doing?
Hey, hi. Hi, I'm good. Thanks for asking. What about you?
I'm also great, thank you. So
Okay.
Anirban, it's up to you. You can guide everyone out there.
Okay. Hey, thank you. So, hi everyone. I think I'm audible and visible clearly. Please
Yes,
give me a
yes,
thumbs up in chat.
you are audible.
Yeah, thanks actually. Okay. Let me quickly share my screen. Then we'll just discuss what is today's plan. Just give me a moment.
Eh,
Okay. I believe you can see the screen. Okay. So let us discuss first what is today's agenda. So as we already informed, what is the takeaway from this class? Basically, or by the end of the class, you will be able to understand what is the roadmap to a full stack developer. That means what are the things you need to learn and what are the sequence you need to follow while learning. That is what I'm going to discuss today in this full stack development. Now, if I just go via this theory and just tell you do that, do this will be very boring. Okay. So for that, what we'll be doing, we'll definitely talk about the full stack development roadmap. What are the things you need to learn and what are the sequence you need to follow. But also we'll be trying to build a very small project. I'm not telling that I'll be building Netflix or a very good project or very interesting or very complex project. But yeah, what are the things I'll be telling you today that these things you need to learn. Using these only, we will be building a very small project, let's say a to-do list. Okay, it is very small but very useful that what are the things I need to do and I can list down there and I can also strike it out across it. This kind of small functionality we'll be building today and using those only which we have I've told you to learn as a part of your full stack development journey. Okay, so before I begin, I just wanted to know that how many of you are completely beginner, how many of you are more about knows about how is coding, let's say intermediate, and how many of you are practically working as a developer. Okay, so just go with B, I, and A. So I'll check the complexity that how many of you are beginners, how many of you are intermediate. That's where we'll go. So I can see most of you are actually B, okay, and couple of them are intermediate also. Okay, fine. So we'll drive the class such a way so that it can be a beginners friendly. Okay, so I'm assuming that you don't know anything about full stack development and this is the way you want to learn. Okay, Fine. So what is a full stack development and what is full stack? Full stack is basically a combination of two stack in the initial phase. Okay, this is actually having very contradiction. If I tell this sentence that full stack is only a part of two stack, the sentence will be very confusing, even contradictual also. Why? Because in the market currently multiple things are happening. But in the initial phase, if you want to learn and if you want to portray yourself as a full stack developer, then you need to consider two stack first. What is this two stack? Front end and back end. Okay. Now, first we'll go to the front end. What is front end? Okay. Now, I'll just tell you one thing before I go and proceed with the classes. This is, I have seen in my previous webinars also this kind of question that, sir, I know this language, that language, this multiple language will keep on pushing and asking that whether it is useful, whether it can be done in full stack. Okay, so I'll tell you a high level ground reality. When you be a full stack developer or when you be a developer in a company, language matters very little. Okay, because depending on the company project, they will put you into different language also. Okay, but it's not that before going to the company only you'll be learning 5-6 languages or 12 languages, because you heard someone is learning Python, let's go learn Python. Someone is learning JavaScript, yeah, I'm going to learn JavaScript. Someone is telling, okay, it's Flutter is very useful now, go ahead and Flutter. Oh, Golang is coming, less than. No, this is not something that you should be doing. Okay, once you get into a company, depending on the project, they will be putting you into a different language, and they will be trained you also. So that's why if you keep asking me, I know this language, that language, I'll always tell doesn't matter. Only thing is matter that you follow a proper structure. Okay, so let's get back to our agenda. So what is a front end? Front end. Okay, that means whenever you open a website, any kind of user experience you see, it can be a website, be a ATM where you are actually withdrawing some money. Anything you see in front of you, user interface, user experience, UI, UX. Any user interface or any user experience you see in front of you are part of a front end. We first concentrate on building front end, and as a learning journey also front end. Okay, so first of all, what are the things you need to learn to be a front end developer? First, which stands for hypertext markup language. Example with HTML today also. Don't worry, if you are very beginners and you don't even know what is HTML and what is it's doing, we'll definitely show you. After that is come for CSS. Structure doesn't actually very interesting, right? You need to do some customization or some kind of color, some kind of shape. And if you see any website nowadays, you will see this kind of thing. Like if you go to the Facebook, you will see multiple colors are there. Okay, there is a particular one color scheme, but you can see multiple interesting UI are there. Those all are actually built using the CSS, and CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. That means any kind of styling on top of your structure which you have built using HTML are done by the CSS. Now only HTML CSS will not work. Why? If you go to the website nowadays, you will see multiple functionalities. That means the website is not a static nowadays. Just a very useful example that you guys are actually opening your web page and seeing me, and I am teaching you. We are communicating. You can see, you can view me as you view my video, and these kind of things are happening. Basically, a live class is happening. That means one functionality is taking place. If you go to the Facebook, you will see multiple animations are there. If you hover over your like icon, you will see multiple smileys are popping up. These all are the animations and the functionalities. Those are all built using a JavaScript. Okay, so that's why these three languages are very important. Okay, now once you have a very good understanding of the base language, so these three are the base language. Okay, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Then you started roaming around with libraries and framework. Now, what is libraries and framework? What happens when you start writing code? Let's go back to era of 1990, where internet is introduced and fast website is launched. That time, what you used to do, that time only three languages were there. Let's go back to very beginning. Let's say two languages are there, HTML and CSS. Okay, each and everything you want to do using HTML and CSS, you need to write code from the scratch. So you started writing code, and after 2-3 years, many other things are introduced, many ideas are introduced. So you saw that to do a small things, you need to write tons of code. And at a point of time, you'll see you are keep on writing 1,000, 10,000, 12,000 lines of code. And those writing 12,000 line of code is basically a very hard work and basically very hard to manage. So that's a problem. To resolve these problems only, libraries and frameworks are introduced. What are those? Basically, you are in an era where web development and this website development is more than 20 years old. Okay. Now, whatever the things you want to do may be already done by someone else in a particular or proper way. So, and they have done it and they have uploaded it in a certain places. Maybe they will charge you for using that, and some of them are open source, you can easily use. So those things are basically libraries and framework. That means, let's say you in a Facebook, let's give you a proper scenario in Facebook like functionality. Okay, maybe previously when Facebook developed that light functionality, it written 10,000 lines of code. Now you as a developer want to build a similar kind of thing. Now Facebook already developed this. They may have pushed it into a certain repository or certain place, and you can use that thing to onboard the functionality in your project. In that case, you may need to write only 9-10 lines of code to customize it, but you can use the ready-made functionality. So that is basically your libraries and framework. That means someone else already written the code for you, and you are just using it. The only thing you need to learn how to use it. The framework not only reduce our code, it actually protect our code. It is basically whenever the code you are actually pulling any framework, you are actually using very secure code and very structured code. So there is a very less chance of doing any mess up. Okay, now definitely you need to learn libraries and framework. So HTML doesn't have any library. The structure of the HTML you need to write from the very scratch. There are no library will be there for HTML. So HTML you need to write. For CSS, you will be having multiple libraries. One of the base libraries you will be learning Bootstrap. Okay, there are multiple libraries. Are there? Bootstrap is there, Materialize is there, Skeleton is there. Many others are there. Okay, but as a beginners, you will be learning Bootstrap. Learning means even though you think that codes are written, there are certain rules to be followed. So you need to know how to use those codes. So that's why you need to learn Bootstrap. Okay, now once you learn HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap, you will be able to build a very beautifully looking and attractive website without writing a very huge level of code. Okay, basically you need to write a very less CSS if you are using Bootstrap. Again, let's go for the JavaScript. JavaScript also comes with a huge level of code and huge level of complexity. So reduce those, you'll be using React.js. Okay, now you can use Angular and React. Both the framework are very famous, and that's how your what happened? Yeah, you can use both of them, React and Angular. Both of them are actually very famous because React is used by Facebook and your Angular is used by Google. So these two are very famous. So you can use these two, but as a suggestion for the beginner friendly suggestion is basically go ahead and use React because it's easy to learn compared to Angular. Okay, so what is our roadmap and where are you standing now? First learn HTML, then CSS, then JavaScript. Once you master these three, start learning CSS framework, just like Bootstrap. After you master that, start learning React. Okay, once you learn React, and that's all. In this phase, you are a front-end developer. Okay, now I go back to the question and answer. Any question? Anyone is having any question? Now is the time to ask if you are having any question. Somebody asked that what is the difference between React and Angular. As I told, React and Angular both are framework. Okay, one is actually created by Google, one is basically created by React, Facebook. Okay, React is basically React is basically completely created by Facebook and they made it open source. Angular is created by some open source developer, but Google rapidly picked it up and they vastly use it. So that's why these two are very famous. Okay. Okay. So if you are intermediate, you may be asking some course, what is jest, what is chai, what is mocha. This kind of answer I will be giving you in the later phase. So if I asking you what is the question, please ask the question whatever I have taught until now. If you have any other kind of question, definitely I give you a space. There you can ask. Yeah, libraries and frameworks are different. Okay, there are a certain difference. What is a difference with library and framework? If you are using library, you have a freedom to use it anywhere, any way. Okay, there are no certain rule you need to follow. Library you can pull in the middle of the code also and start using. If you are using framework, you need to follow a particular rule. That's why Angular is a framework. If you are going with the Angular, you need to follow. Now, Angular has two things also. You have Angular JS, which is a library. You have Angular 2.0, like more the versions over 2.0 are basically framework. So you need to follow a particular certain rules to use Angular. That's why Angular is considered as framework. React is a library, but you can use React as a rule also, and you can actually use React as a library also. Sorry, framework also. Yeah. So making it SEO friendly or search engine friendly a different topic. Yes, using normal React also you can make it, because somebody actually thought that if I go ahead with only single page application, then it will not SEO friendly. So Nest.js is basically not a single. Okay. Now there is a one certain rule about. So I got a question. What about Flutter? Is there any front end, back end in Flutter framework? Okay. There is a very certain and universal rule. Whatever the language I told about now, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these three, right? Language, these three. These three are only used in the web front end. If you are thinking about web front end or any kind of front end which is related to web, there are web front end is also used in mobile and in other applications also. Any kind of web front end is developed by only these three languages. There are no other language we can use, because any kind of web front end is compiled using your JavaScript. Sorry, using your browser, and browser only understand these three. Okay. Okay. What is the market of FSD? And if you think about the market and all things, it's very huge currently. Also, we also see multiple hirings are happening. Okay, and I believe this on this topic, your placement coordinator will talk more. But if you ask me from the company perspective, yes, there are huge markets still there. Any other question? Let me just go ahead. Okay. Somebody asked you what is the using of AI tools and company. Okay, let's break it down. So many of the company, it depends on where you are using. Okay, we if you are using for my personal project, there is something called GitHub Copilot that I'll be using most of the cases to it will actually help us to write code. But that doesn't mean every time you can use that. If you are in a BFSI domain, what is a BFSI domain? That means the banking. Like you are actually working for a banking project. That time the restriction is very high, because no matter which AI you are using, they actually make your data public. Okay, because if you want to get some information, want to get answer from the AI, definitely you need to go to the web. Whatever the things you are typing, it will go to the web and come back to you. Okay, due to this reason, what happened? They actually restrict this AI completely. Still, okay, I have been work with two the domain. One of them are actually PY security. There, we have to maintain bank account number and all things. That time we are not allowed to use any kind of AI tools. Even though I copy a code and try to paste it anywhere, it will not allow me to do. Okay, that kind of security is also there. There you need to write a manual code only. There are no way you can use AI. But certain cases where you don't have this restriction, you can use the Copilot. But if you are not going to build a project from a very scratch, you will be onboarded into an existing project, so you cannot completely use the AI. You can use AI to reduce some of your work, but definitely not completely going to replace the work. Okay, now let's get back to okay, let's get back to my next segment. Okay, now let's this. So once you are a front-end developer, somebody actually asked about PHP and all things. I'll come back to that in this case. Okay. Now, once you have mastered the front-end, now you are actually a front-end developer. You know everything about the front-end. So everything you see in front of you is basically front-end. Okay. Now, everything you see, that doesn't mean that everything is there, right? There are multiple things happening which you can't see. That is basically backend. Let's give you a very example. Okay, we'll understand what is backend. Okay, let's give you a very practical example that we are doing regularly. Let's say I want to buy a trimmer. Okay, what is the process I will follow, or what is the journey as a user I'll be doing? I'll go to Amazon.in. Okay, I'll search for the trimmer. What I'll be seeing in front of me, let's say lots of trimmers coming to the picture. Okay, now where I am seeing those trimmer in my computer, but does my computer has the information of those trimmer? No. Who has the information of those trimmer? Definitely Amazon Central Server. Now my front end, whatever I see, definitely is getting data from somewhere else. And from where it is getting the data? It is actually getting the data from the Amazon database. Now, can my front end directly access the Amazon database? No, it cannot. So there in between database and my front end, there must be a software which can access the database securely, do some manipulation and logical thing, and give the data back to my front end. So this particular software or this particular application is called a backend. Okay. Now, as I told, in front end you can only use three languages: front end, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Back end, you don't have any restriction. You can use anything. Now, somebody is asking PHP. Yes, PHP is a backend language. You can add it. Node.js, Django is a Python framework, Flux, Go, any kind of language in the market you can use. Now, here is the question. You are not actually wanted to hear for learning what are the things used in the backend, right? You are here to learn how to learn backend. So in this step, as a beginners, you should only learn Node.js. Why? Because you already learned JavaScript in a previous front-end journey. So using the JavaScript only, you can learn Node.js, because Node.js is basically a JavaScript only. So now you already know the JavaScript. Using that, you can actually build your backend software. Okay, that's how you will be actually doing in the backend. Okay, now give me 2 minutes. Let me share my another screen. I'll give you another diagram also. What happens basically? Let me share my another screen. Okay. I believe you can see my draw.io. You can see the diagram. Okay. What is happening here? So as I told, you are a user. You are browsing in your browser. That's a Chrome browser. You are opening computer client. This is a front end. Okay, front end is considered as client, and this is basically your Amazon server. Inside Amazon server, you have two things: your backend software. Okay, it's written Amazon server, but these two are a single entity. You have a backend software which is having access to database. So whenever you're asking something, front end will go to backend software. Backend software will pull the data from the database and give it back to you. And in between front end and back end, or front end and the server, there is someone who is actually do this communication. This someone is called API, application programming interface. Basically, computer or Chrome calls an API goes to the back end, and API has the information what it needs. It's still the information to the backend. If backend thinks okay, it is allowed, then it will go to the database, fetch the data, and give it back to your API, and API again give it back to your front end. Okay, is it clear? This is basically your FSD flow, full stack development flow, or any client server architectural flow. Is it clear, everyone? Any question on this flow? Okay. Now, as I told that if you want to use, I'll repeat, Farah. If you want to repeat or want to learn Java, Python, any language, no one is restricting you. You can go ahead and learn any language, and any language can be used in the backend. Okay. But as a beginner, if you are a beginners and you want to learn, and you want not only it's not, see, in this era only learning doesn't matter, right? You need to learn and get a job faster. That's what we are here. So if you want to learn faster and get a job faster, in this phase, I'll advise you to learn the Node.js only, because in company, if you see the company's requirement, they are actually looking for mean stack, mon stack. Those are basically those full stack developers. What do you call developers requirement? Mean stack stand for Mongo, Express, Angular, Node. Man stack stand for Mongo, Express, React, Node. Okay, you can see all of them are basically we have already discussed. Okay, Express is basically a Node.js framework only. As I told, every time you will be reading framework. Similarly, in backend, if you want to use Node.js using JavaScript, you will be using the Express framework. So Mongo, if you lift Mongo, Express, Node, React, all the things we have already discussed about. What is Mongo? Mongo is basically a database. As I already mentioned about this architecture, you will see database is coming to the picture. So you need to learn some database related thing. So Mongo is the first thing you'll be learning. Mongo is a NoSQL database. Once you get a grip on the Mongo and you are able to go ahead and do all things with the Mongo, learn any SQL database. It can be SQL Server, it can be MySQL, it can be Postgres, anything you can learn. Advise to learn Postgres or MySQL because those are free and those are easily available in the market, and tutorials are also huge. So in this phase, first learn Mongo for the database, then as a SQL database, you'll MySQL. Okay. Basically, we think that around 6 to 7, if you are a complete beginner, mark is kind of enough to be a full stack developer and get a job, be a job ready. Okay. Now another thing, I'm just re-explaining it once again. So this entire architecture is actually works like a restaurant system. Just like that, if you go to the restaurant, what you will be doing? You will be sitting in the table. A waiter comes to you and asks, "What you need?" You tell, "Okay, I need biryani." What waiter will do? Waiter will go to the kitchen, ask the cook to cook the biryani for you. Once the biryani is done, you will take the biryani and give it back to you. Similar thing works here also. Similarly, API comes to the browser, tells the API, "I need data of trimmer." API goes to the backend server. It tells backend, "Okay, give me a data of trimmer." Backend goes to the database, pulls the data of trimmer, give it back to API. API give it back to browser. Okay, this is basically a full stack architectural flow. Any other confusion? Once you have learned to go sit on an interview, need to be that ready, right? Now, what are the things needed and what are the interview process currently happening for the freshers? Let's discuss. Assuming that you are will. So first, when you apply as a fresher, okay, they will put you into some aptitude test. They are not asking; they are actually put. After that, you will be having a face-to-face interview, maybe 2-3 round of this, where they are actually judging your skills by JavaScript, React. But before that, you need to pass this coding round. Now, what is this coding round? This is basically your DSA and algorithms coding challenges. Okay. Now, data structure and algorithm, basically there are two things: data structure and algorithm. In the data structure, you'll be learning how data structure work, like the stack, queue, linked list. Those are the things, mostly theory and some big coding. Okay, and other than that, you will be learning the coding challenges. Okay, there are multiple sites like HackerRank, HackerRank, where you will be getting coding challenges. Now, in this case, to be a job ready, you need to do more and more practice. The more coding challenges you practice, the more expert you will be, and more you will be going and uh, uh, able to answer those questions easily and within a time. So in this phase, after learning all these things, you need to go ahead and learn all this or practice on these coding challenges. Clear about this journey also? Any question now? Before I go to some practical example, any question? Anyone's any question? I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay, is full stack easy these days? Okay, now I have already discussed this topic once again, but I'm just telling because there are in the market you will be seeing multiple things called vibe coding, this kind of coding, basically prompt engineering. You write the prompt and entire website is built. Okay, now let's go to the practical scenario. If you go to the LinkedIn, okay, just do a search for vibe coding. Okay, I am vibe coder. How many job you can get there? Okay, go to the Naukri. Check any company is hiring vibe coder or not. Okay, or check any requirement. Anywhere it is telling that you need to go be a good at prompt. You'll see none. Okay, you can don't have to believe me. Engineering. If you start prompt engineering, definitely some of the jobs will come. Tuning. Okay, skills you need to have. Okay, these are. And to learn these things also, you need to be an expert of Python. You need to know what is a large language model, what is language model work. That's a different area of getting a job. Okay. Masters in these areas only. So I know how it's happening. Now, if you why this vibe coder, even though you have seen maybe you have seen write down some prompt in the chat GPT and you saw if entire code is coming and entire website is coming. But why this is not implemented in job? Why companies not asking for a vibe coder? Answer is you're definitely targeting for big companies, right? Now let's say for HCL or let's say for LTI Mindtree, do you think they are building some software from the scratch? No. They are building Netflix? No. Okay, they are actually maintaining some very big project which is actually running for last 10 years. Okay, and whatever the code you write there, it needs to be approved, it needs to be reviewed, and it needs to be scanned to multiple scan. You cannot just go ahead and write something to the chat GPT, which is definitely it is good for giving you some from the scratch, but when you copy it and paste it here, you will never know that where to paste. Okay, and if you paste, what kind of error will come? If you want to use AI also, you need to have a very good understanding. You need to know how to read this code, understand what is the requirement of that, take the code from there and put it here. And believe me, we are doing this sort of from the edges only. Previously, what we used to do, we used to search in the Google. Maybe I had to read 10 blocks to get one information and put it in my code. Now, due to this AI era, you don't have to read 10 blocks. You may be getting this in an era. AI will read 10 blocks for you and give you the permanent solution. But the solution, you have to write it in your own. So that's why if you think that AI is going to do everything for you, just like some LinkedIn and some YouTube videos are showing you, this is not something that currently happening. You can ask any industry expert who are actually in the industry for a longer time, they will tell you the same exact thing. And most of the proof, you'll not get any job requirement for this kind of thing also. Okay. Okay. I'll talk about the Git since you have somebody's asked. I was going to talk. Git is basically a version control. Now, now is the last step of your job journey. Okay, you have built your full stack. You have learned all the full stack things. You have practiced your TSA. Now it's time to showcase yourself. That means you have to build some prototype project. Okay, let's say some to-do list, some e-commerce applica, some Netflix applica, whatever the site you imagine, you start building because you know what is front end, you know what is back end, you know the database. Now start building it. Okay. Now only building will not help, right? You need to showcase that I have done this. I need to show it to someone else. Now how do you show the code to someone else? Push it to GitHub repository. Create a GitHub repository. Whatever the code you have until now you have developed, push it there and give this GitHub link to the recruiter as well as when you are in interview. Sometime I ask candidate, can you show me your GitHub profile? They will give the GitHub profile and I can see that what are the language and what are the things candidate has been done. Okay, so this is basically getting your portfolio. Now not only going and sending GitHub will help, right? Now you need to whatever the things you have built. Let's say you have built Netflix.com. which may be in your local computer, but you need to show this website to outside the world. Okay, because if interview, maybe you want to see the output. That time you will be deploying this code in the some free software, free deployment agent. Let's say Netlify is also one of them. Okay, in this case you'll be learning certain amount of deployment strategies also, like how to deploy your code. So now you have what you have done. You have learned the full stack development from stepwise, from very beginnings to be a job ready skills. After that, you have done. You have learned you to showcase your skills. So that's all for now. That's all. This is the basically the full stack development journey you will be following. Okay, and this is the roadmap you will be following. Okay, I think I told about the Git also. And another thing, GitHub, I just told GitHub because it's a company name. It's very easy to create a profile on GitHub. There are multiple things are there. Git is basically used for maintaining a versions. That means maybe in a company you are not the only one. Maybe more 10 12 developers are working on the same project. If you start without any version control, you can mess up each other's code. Git basically take care of that thing. You do your code, you another person will do their code, another person will do their code. It will create different version of the code and it will maintain that one. So that just like you have done something wrong, suppose not, it will not go ahead and affect someone else's code. Okay, still it will do in some of the cases, but you have a remedy to revert it back. That's why Git is very important. And as a part of your user journey, you can learn Git. You don't have to, somebody don't need to teach you Git. Whenever you start pushing to the Git, you will learn it automatically. Okay, now let's do one thing. So we have been doing theory and all things from the very beginning. So now it's not that very easy to build an entire project within a short amount of time, because we mostly focused on at explaining you what is the roadmap. Now, as you have already aware about the roadmap, let's go back and try to make a very small project, and at least I'll show you how a project works in real life and how do we start a project. Let's say I'm going to make a to-do list. What is a to-do list? Basically, a to-do list is basically, if I go to my draw.io, so we do this also. Let me go ahead here. So a to-do list is basically, if I have a website, okay, and I can have a list of tasks here. Okay, let's say task 1. Okay, task 2. So I'll be add, I can do. So there can be a add button. When I click on add button, I can add basically task 3 also. So this should be done. This is basically a to-do list. Okay, there can be a cross button also. Let's say there can be a cross button. Here I can have a cross button to delete a task. So this kind of thing you can build very easily. I'm not telling that I'm going to build a full-fledged project, but let's start at least so that you know that how things work in a real life. Okay. So is it cool? Shall we start? Everyone is ready? I don't see anyone is telling yes or something. Yeah, now I got it. Yeah, great. Let me share my code editor. Hold on. We'll do the code first, then we'll try to check what is happening. Okay. Now, one more thing here. Okay. So this is the first thing I need to tell. So when I'm actually doing the coding, I may not be seeing what is happening in the chat window. Okay. So when I'm doing coding, don't start asking multiple questions. Okay. After doing certain amount of code, I'll ask you, okay, is there any question? That time you go and jump and start asking questions about the code what I've write. Okay. We'll follow this strict rule here. Okay. Now I am going to create a React project. So this all of the cases, as I told, you will be mostly concentrating on MERN stack, and React is easy to learn. So we'll be doing as a React project. Now, to do our project, what are the prerequisites? Okay, I have done all my prerequisite. I'm doing multiple classes, and I am a developer. In my computer prerequisite is already there. So what are the things you need to do? First, you need to install Node.js. You need to install Node.js. Okay, you can search in the Google download Node.js. You'll see the exe, and you can install. Then install VS Code. VS Code is basically the editor which you see in front of you. We mostly use VS Code, and I have been for the last 4 companies I have switched. 4 of them are using VS Code only. Okay, so nowadays all of us are using VS Code. It's lightweight and good. Okay, so this is first install VS Code. For now, these two is enough. Okay. Now, once you install VS Code and Node.js to test all the things are working fine or not, what you will be doing? Okay. Now, if you open VS Code this way, it will open, and after that, click on terminal. You go click on new terminal. Okay. Now, sometimes there's in Windows there are some issue I face for a beginner. So click on this link and move it to command prompt. Okay. Now write node minus v. If you see version or something, this kind of text, that means Node.js is installed. Okay. Now I start a project. How do I start a project or React? So there are 2-3 ways to start a project in React. Okay. I'll be giving or I'll be showing you the very basic way, and definitely I'll tell you maybe in the companies you will not be using this way because but this is the base way of writing or starting a React project. This is called npx create. This command you need to write. App and the name of your app. Let's say my to do I'll be giving and press enter. Okay, you'll see it start creating the project. Okay, and it will take 2-3 minutes. In this 2-3 minutes, any question you guys? I'm looking in the chat. Any question on these steps? I don't think there should be any question, but still I'm asking here. Same steps for MacBook also same steps. What are the steps I have given are same for Linux, MacBook. Now, if someone is using a Red Hat and only using via terminal, there from the test steps different, but you will figure it out. If you are using Red Hat terminal, you are knowledgeable enough to figure it out how to install. NPX is basically another. Now, what is NPX? I'm not going to explain now. NPX is basically kind of a package manager which can pull packages. So let's not go in depth. Yeah, white also you can write. As I told that there are multiple way to React. Okay, I personally use white only. Okay, in my projects, but as I wanted to show you from the very beginning perspective, so I used this React app only. Okay, you can use anything. There are 2-3 other things are also currently famous nowadays. Okay. Yes, you can use React for a web app. See, React can be used for building web app as well as mobile app. Okay. See, somebody, I think this is two times. See, PHP is a backend language. Okay. No matter what backend language you use, you still need to write HTML and CSS. Okay. The architecture we follow here basically a client server architecture, are most probably call it a REST architecture. In REST architecture, we want to separate front end and back end code completely. We don't want to merge two of them. So PHP Laravel or PHP CodeIgniter, PHP Kick PHP, there are multiple frameworks are there in PHP and multiple frameworks there in Java also. Let's say Java Spring Boot, Sitecore. Sitecore is also in .NET. Python you have Django. Multiple things are there. Golang you have what do you call that? Jin. Want to make front end? Yeah. All frameworks I've told, those will as server side coding. I'm now okay. Now what I need to do, it's already told me cd my to do. Okay, and after that you done npm start. If you don't see any error, that's all. Okay, if you run npm start, definitely it will open one window and you'll see some react is running or something, which is also running, because I have only shared you that this particular window, that's why you're not able to see. But webpack compiled successfully means react is running. Okay, now let's go ahead and stop it, because it's a basic thing. So what it does basically, it actually pulls up boilerplate code. That means it will give you a ready-made small project, very small project. Now your work is to keep on modifying it. Now to modify it, what I need to do first, I need to clear it up. What other things is there, I need to go ahead and clear. How do I clear it up? Go to my to-do folder, what is created, go inside source, inside app.js, whatever the code you see, you can go ahead and clear it. You don't need these things. Okay, after that you put this is called react fragment. Okay, if you don't want to write any kind of code, blank, it's called a closing open npm start again. If you are trying to write React is basically considered a JSX format. That means you can write JavaScript and HTML in a single page merged together. Import app function. Uh, okay, automatically it is given. It may okay. Okay, now let so that's what I will be doing. So two things are there: ordered list and unordered list. So we'll be going the unordered list. Okay, UL and UL is there. Okay. Now here I'll be writing inside that. These are the HTML code. Now, if you ask me what is the HTML code learning from the scratch, you definitely take some time to learn also. But it is very easy. Task one. See, as I done task one, it understood that I may be getting a to-do list. It's giving me a suggestion of task 2, task 3. This suggestion I will be taking. So now I have written a HTML. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and share my entire screen. Okay, can you see the screen? You see task 1, task 2, task 3. Okay, these are there. Definitely don't write something in the chat. I'll ask when the questions are asking questions. That time I'll be giving you the answer. So task 1, task 2, task 3 has been created. Now I'll go to that here again. Okay, now let's go ahead and add something called div. One div here and one div. Okay, now go ahead and write some button add task. Okay, I saved it, and if I see, you have add task. Now design is not good still because I have not done design. So this is basically your task 1, task 2, task 3 and add task. Okay, I'll share the coding window and then we'll go for the questions. Now I believe you can see the course coding window. Now you can ask this question. Anything for this? Yeah, I've not written a CSS yet. Okay, you can see the design is very bad. So I have to write some CSS so that it can. Okay, now it will definitely take a 2-3 hours class just to start React. It's not that very easy that I can explain you within 5 minutes, right? And you also be realistic. I'm just telling or showing you that how things we write. What are the use of HTML? If I write a HTML, what is the output? If I write JavaScript or CSS, what will be the output? Okay. Okay. I don't see any question. Let's go back to coding again. Then let me share the entire screen and go back to code. Okay, now it's not having any CSS. Okay, I'm not going to write manual CSS, it will take time. Okay, what I told that CSS is also having something called CSS framework, so we'll be using Bootstrap. So what we'll be doing, download Bootstrap. Okay, so let's go to the Bootstrap 5.3. Okay, now you can use these CDNs. Okay, so what I'll be doing, I'll be copying this particular. How do I install Bootstrap? Again, there are multiple way to install Bootstrap. Okay, one of the way I'm following here. Okay, how do we do it here? Now go to public, there is index.html on the top. Okay, go ahead and write this. Okay, now take this one also, come here on the index.html, go to the bottom, before after body, push it here. Okay, now if I go to my code editor, one second, you'll see something got changed. See, now you can see some changes are happening. Okay, now how do I do it more visually appealing? Go to the Bootstrap, you are doing what, list, you are making list appealing, so you just search for the list here. You'll see how lists are happening. So what kind of list you can have? I have to search for list. Actually, search for list. See, here list are there. See, if I want to have this kind of design, what are the things I need to do? In the UL, I need to write this particular thing. Okay, let's go ahead. Here in the app.js, okay, in the UL, let's write class. It should be class name. Okay, now this is the beauty of basically AI. AI already read that if it is a list, if you need a list group, you need a list group item also, just like you have here list group, and below that you have a list group item. So similarly you can do it here also, tab it automatically there. Now if I go to my, see, you have some border or something. Okay, now it's not still not compact. How do I make it compact? Now these particular things you need to learn. So you need to make this class name as container. Okay, then you will see now this is little bit here. Now button is not looking good, so what I'll be doing here, I know the class name, that's what I'm not searching here. Class name button primary. See, the button is also good now. So this is basically how you use it. Can be optimized more, I can make it more visually appealing, but this is how you actually go ahead and do something in using HTML and CSS. Let me share the coding window only and the question. Okay, any question in this? Anyone else? Any question? See, mostly for designing, we use classes. See, this is a rule you should follow. It's not that a hard rule, but we follow it. To do a CSS or to do CSS design, we follow class. To do JavaScript animation or JavaScript functionality, we follow ID. This is which you are. This is only one AI. It's called GitHub Copilot. No, your graduation will not teach you these things. And if you're thinking that is only these 2-3 things you need to learn, it's a very mistake. There are multiple things. I'm just showing you a tip of an iceberg. Okay, why I recommend Node.js? It doesn't mean that Node.js is very famous. I recommend Node.js because you are a beginners. Why? You have already learned JavaScript, okay, as a part of frontend. Without JavaScript, you cannot be at. After learning frontend, you're coming to backend. In this phase, you have multiple language choice. Now, again, if you start learning a language from very scratch, let's say you start learning Java now, you will end up wasting another 1 month. I'm not telling wasting is not a very good word in this case, but you will end up spending another 1 month to learn a language. Now, not only learning a language, after learning a language, you need to learn the server, how to make a server out of this language, optimization of this language. After that, you can write some backend code using that. Even if you're using Python, Java, or anything. Okay. Now, if you're using Node.js, then this entire 1 month you can save because you already know JavaScript. You'll be writing code in JavaScript only. Okay, and Node.js will make it a server side. That's why I told. Okay. Now, again, if you think that what things are happening in the industry as a fresher. As a fresher, most of the job you will be getting as a front end. Back-end jobs are mostly for the experienced guy. Okay. Now, if you think that I only know Java, okay, it's not that you only know Java and you will get a job. You need to know JSP or Servlet or JavaScript framework, which actually let's say what is this name of framework? There are multiple frameworks there. One of them are very famous. So you need to learn that one. Then only you will get. If you go to the Python, you need to learn Django at least, or Happy. Another one framework is there. So you need to learn those. Then only you will get. So in this case, it's very difficult for you. Okay. Okay. Any question? Any other question? Okay. In React, you can write class also. Okay. But React asks us to follow a class name. If you write class also, it will still work. Class name is basically good for React, and why we use class name in React other than class, that's a very big explanation for that. Okay, that's not a very small thing. So you need to have some time to understand, because you need to understand how React works. Then only you understand why class name, not class. But yes, if you write class, it will also work. GitHub Copilot, there you need to have a GitHub account, and you can just search in the extension GitHub Copilot, it will work. But yeah, another suggestion: when you're starting as a beginner, initialize. Do not use the GitHub Copilot. You don't want this suggestion. You want to be suggestive. Okay, start writing your own code first. Okay, then when you are a company, definitely you can use, because as I told, some of the company will not let you use the GitHub Copilot. Okay, just like my company currently, HCL, the project I was in, I am allowed to use AI, but not allowed to use GitHub Copilot because that's a security concern. Now, if you have a habit of using GitHub Copilot and now you are in a company, you will be very slow because you are having a different habit. So do not make it a bad habit. It's just like driving a manual car and automatic. Learn the manual car, you will automatically good at automatic driving. This roadmap is basically for beginners and intermediate, okay, and someone who has already learned multiple bits and pieces but not actually collaborating as a whole. Okay, any more question? Okay, I'll hand over the session to Aishi now. Okay, and she will be taking care from here. And what are the question you are actually asking, how to get job, how to learn, and all things, and how market is happening. These all things Aishi will be a better person to answer. Over to you, Ayushi.